Greetings. This is an earthquake forecast video covering in New Zealand and also the Australian region for the month of July 2017. This video is exclusive content for subscribers of the solarwatch.net website. We're now looking at the important astronomical events taking place for the month, and there's not much to report in July. We have the Earth reaching aphelion on July 3rd, or its furthest point of its orbit of the Sun. We move right through to the 21st, where the Moon will reach perigee. On the 25th, the Moon will make two connections with Mercury and Regulus, which is an interesting time frame. July 27, we have the important planetary alignment of Mars, Earth and Sun taking place. Moon-Jupiter conjunction on the 28th, and Mercury will reach its greatest elongation on the 30th of the month. We're now looking at the important lunar aspects that will be taking place for the month. We are looking for simultaneous connections from the Moon on a given day to signify strong potentials for earthquakes here on the Earth. The key dates of focus for July in terms of lunar connectivity are the 9th, where the Moon will be conjunction with Pluto and also opposition of Mars, and on the 20th stands out as significant as Venus and Saturn will also have simultaneous interactions within 8 hours. In terms of the earthquake potentials for Australia and New Zealand, the key time periods will be the second half of the month, from the 20th to the 30th, should see busy periods for both New Zealand and also the Australian mainlands, which should see earthquakes ranging from the 4 to 5 magnitudes. We're now looking at the exact overhead position of the Moon at the time of both lunar perigee, which will take place on the 21st of the month, and lunar apogee, which takes place on the 6th. And we see a hypersymmetry focusing on the same area of the globe, which is an interesting aspect, and we should see an earthquake, a fairly strong earthquake, for the month, covering the North American and possibly South American regions. These have been the main areas of focus in terms of lunar perigee influence and also lunar apogee. Focusing now on the lunar declinations, which will take place on the 8th and 21st of the month. And there's also a similar symmetry across the Pacific Ocean, and areas of Alaska, Hawaii and also New Zealand could be at risk for a strong quake based on the Moon position at the time of lunar declinations. Now looking a little bit more closely at the lunar perigee information, we note that July is a fairly strong influence for the Moon as it's the fifth nearest approach to the Earth for the entire year. But from this month, from August right through to November, the Moon will be considered as fairly weak in terms of influence. Now the month of July is also fairly weak in terms of planetary alignment, so the lunar influence combined into the planetary alignments will be not as strong. We're now looking at the important planetary alignments that will be taking place for the month. And a fairly quiet month as mentioned, with two connections involving Earth and Pluto, and the first half of the month, then things begin to get much more serious in terms of planetary alignments, where Venus will oppose Saturn on the 24th, and just 3 days later the Sun will conjoin Mars on the 27th. These are significant interactions, and we should see a strong uptick in earthquakes towards the end of the month or the last week. And briefly touching on the Moon-Jupiter conjunction, it'll take place on July 28th, also towards the end of the month, and highlighting this time frame as highly volatile for the South Pacific Ocean and also the South Pacific Islands. Now we do note the Moon-Jupiter conjunction's weakening influence over the last 12 months as Jupiter moves closer to Saturn, but this should signify a strong quake potential towards the end of the month. And now the forecast for the New Zealand region. We begin on the 3rd of July, where there's a potential for a strong shake for the top end of New Zealand. Areas of focus will be definitely the Bay of Plenty region, areas around the White Island volcano. Other areas of note will be the Morrinsville and also Matamata regions. Also Gisborne could also be at risk for a potential 5.2 magnitude event. The next date of focus will be July 11, where the forecast suggests a potential 4.9 magnitude earthquake. Areas of focus will be the Cook Strait, Wellington, Upper Hutt or surrounding regions near Leven for this potentially strong earthquake. Now moving forward to the 19th of July, where data and analysis does suggest a 5.1 magnitude earthquake potential for the areas of Cook Strait, Blenheim, and also the areas of Picton and Nelson could be at risk for a strong event. This is mainly due to the Moon reaching geocentric latitude peak the previous day. This could be a widely felt event and also very shallow. Now moving to the 21st of July, and a fairly strong shake, possibly the strongest for the month, could be registered to 5.7 magnitude just north of New Zealand. The potential areas would be off the East Cape, perhaps the Bay of Plenty, and stretching in towards the Kermadec Islands region, or the Kermadec Trench could see strong shaking. So we do need to watch for Rail Island, and also the White Island volcano could become activated on July 21st. And wrapping up this earthquake forecast for New Zealand for the month of July, we move to July 30th, where there's a potential 4.9 magnitude earthquake, this time for the North Island, New Zealand. This could be a fairly strong shake for Hawke's Bay, Gisborne, Wakatani, or surrounding regions up around Lake Taupo. This will definitely be a watch for a strong event towards the end of the month. In summary, the month of July could be a fairly quiet month in terms of seismic potentials for the New Zealand mainland, with the key period of note being July 19 through July 21st as being significant, but potentially a strong quake could be registered offshore, perhaps along the Climatic Trench and not on the New Zealand mainland. So this should be a fairly quiet month in terms of earthquake potentials for New Zealand. Now moving across to Tasman and the forecast for the Australian region for the month of July. Now on paper, it does appear to be a fairly quiet month in store for Australia, with fairly moderate to very quiet shakes on the 3rd and 9th, and then things starting to pick up on the 14th. And we should start to see an increase in seismicity on the 17th and 19th for the Australian mainlands for Queensland and also the east coast of Australia. But the key dates of focus for potential 4 magnitude earthquakes would be obviously July 30th for Northern Territory, July 19th for New South Wales, potentially Newcastle, and also July 27th, a magnitude 3.6 earthquake could be possible for the Victorian region. And that concludes this volcano and earthquake forecast video for the month of July, covering New Zealand and also the Australian region. And for more information, please visit solarwatcher.net, where there will be more content for members and subscribers, as well as website newsletters for not only the world but also Australia and New Zealand. Thanks for watching.